she made jeans for Americans. When they stopped shopping, she turned to sex work. For 5 years, the 30-year-old mother stitched Levi's jeans at a garment factory in Lesotho, a small landlocked country within South Africa. But as the garment industry, one of the country's largest employers, crumbled during the coronavirus pandemic, she found herself on the end of mass layoffs. A week later, she turned to sex work full-time. "I don't want my husband to know, so I leave home dressed normally, and then I change into a short skirt that shows my thighs," she says. Anna, who asked to be identified by her middle name only for safety reasons, is one of over 6,000 garment workers who recently lost a job with the Ningxing Group. The Taiwanese company, Lesotho's largest garment sector employer, owns 5 major factories, 3 of which have closed in the past 16 months. Ningxing has been a major supplier to Levi's, Contour Brands, owners of Wrangler, and The Children's Place, but the company has reduced production amid COVID-19 pandemic headwinds. Like many former garment workers in Lesotho, Anna has since turned to sex work to make ends meet. Delavi Quagala for time most nights, Anna leaves her young children at home. Globally, garment workers like Anna face continued pandemic-era fallouts from disrupted financial markets, upended supply chains and clogged ports. At garment factories around the world, staffers, the majority of whom, like Ningxing's staff, are female, were laid off or sent home without pay. Read more, exclusive, workers in factory that makes Kate Hudson's Fabletics activewear allege rampant sexual and physical abuse. Retail markets may have begun to bounce back, but for already low-paid and vulnerable workers in factories in Lesotho and larger garment-producing countries such as India and Cambodia, those gains can take time to trickle down. With few alternatives, women already working in an already unstable industry face abject poverty, spiraling debt and scant job prospects, industry experts say. The clothing supply chain is run on a knife edge, says Neil Saunders, managing director at research firm Global Data Retail. In India, there is still a great deal of uncertainty about orders in Chennai, an industrial hub on the southeastern coast, says Sujata Modi, president of the Garment and Fashion Workers Union. Many factories remain closed, she adds, while those still working face longer hours, higher expected targets and increased incidents of violence. Female garment workers over 40 have been hit particularly hard, she adds. Some have been able to find temporary low-paid cleaning work, while others are struggling to find anything at all, she says. As COVID-19 infections rose in mid-April of this year, Cambodia once again shut clothing factories, leaving thousands of workers without income. She is back sewing at a factory in Phnom Penh, the capital, but earns less due to reduced orders, she says, and is concerned she'll lose her home if she continues to default on her repayments. By mid-May of this year, an estimated 102 garment factories in Cambodia had permanently closed, said Hang Sok, Secretary of State of Industry, Science, and Innovation, in an interview with local media. In May, Time and the Fuller Project reported on vast sexual abuse and harassment taking place at Hippo Knitting, another Taiwanese company in Lesotho's capital, Maseru. After a 3-month pause, the brand resumed production in August while taking steps to improve workers' rights. But roughly 600 workers are reportedly expected to be permanently laid off early next year, according to Sam Mikel, General Secretary of the National Clothing, Textile and Allied Workers Union in Lesotho. When asked about a reduction in orders at Hippo Knitting, Fabletics said in an emailed statement that orders over the last few months have been greater than or equal to those placed last year. The factory owners declined to comment on looming job cuts. The Taiwanese company Ningxing owns 5 major factories in Lesotho, 3 of which have closed in the past 18 months. The workers are free of harassment, says one seamstress who asked to remain anonymous due to job security concerns. Less than 4 miles away, thousands of women from the Ningxing factories already face this stark reality. In a matter of months, The company's estimated 10,000-strong workforce dropped by more than half and lost over $50 million this past year, according to Louis Rian, Ningxing's former social responsibility director. He says that in addition to Wrangler and the Children's Place cutting orders by roughly 30% this year, rising transport costs, recent wage protests in Lesotho and fluctuating COVID infection rates have all played roles in the company's decline. In an emailed statement, a spokesperson for the Children's Place said Ningxing informed the retailer earlier this year that it was scaling back operations, and that the terms of their relationship did not fit the Taiwanese company's new business model. Each month at the factory, Anna was paid less than the price of 2 pairs of Levi's, about $133, but it wasn't enough to cover her family's basic costs, she says. Now, sex work nets Anna roughly $6 to $19 per night. Given the company's 3-decade history in Lesotho, Ricky Chang, Ningxing's administration manager, says he remains hopeful some factories will reopen next year. Asked what he would like to say to women in her position, Rian doesn't know quite how to answer. The work she does now takes a toll, she says. I couldn't believe it was me doing that, Anna recalls of her first night of sex work, her voice soft.